Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be discussing Superman and Lois season 1 to 4. So when this recording is coming out, episode 7 was released on Monday, so episode 8 will be released on this Monday. And so the season is not finished yet, so I know I really should have waited until the end of Superman and Lois, but there were some things that I really wanted to discuss. So yeah. I've never done a talk video on this channel before. Most of my stuff is gaming and a couple of reactions. And if you do enjoy the video, please like, subscribe and comment if you're new. I'd really appreciate it. And without any further ado, let's get into Superman and Lois. Right. Superman and Lois. I love this show. In a short context, I do love this show. With every show though, there is flaws. And there's nothing you can do about it. No show is perfect. But I spent 99.9% of the time enjoying this show. There were very few nitpicks, so this isn't really a hate video on Superman and Lois. I love it. And I'm pretty sure 90% of you guys agree as well, probably more. Season 1, I'm not going to go into a full breakdown as I'm not going to do it in detail. If you do want to hear a detailed explanation of Superman and Lois, please leave in the comments and I will do it. But this is just going to be my general thoughts. So season 1 was more about Morgan Edge and Superman adjusting with his family of the move to Smallville, which includes an original character in the series, Jordan Kent, who develops powers. So it was more about Jordan figuring out who he is and the powers that he possesses and Superman in general, right? And I kind of felt like when I first started watching this show that it was going to be very family oriented and it wasn't going to be very good. There wasn't going to be many fight scenes, but boy was I wrong. It was really good, the show, and I'm really glad that I gave Superman and Lois a chance. Really enjoyed it, and there were one thing I will say that I was a bit annoyed about was the fact about how many Kryptonians there were in this show. You had humans pumped up with Kryptonian stuff, making them powerful, and it was shown in quite a lot of episodes, which I was very slightly annoyed about, but overall I did enjoy it, so I'm not going to complain. And to be fair, I do appreciate them doing that rather than letting stupid people get away, which I feel like they do with a lot of Arrowverse stuff. So I do feel like they actually gave him a good explanation as to why he couldn't always capture these Kryptonian people. So, yeah. Season 1 was really about Morgan Edge, his, I think, is it his cousin? I think it might be his cousin. Just so you guys know, there is no Supergirl in this show if you haven't watched the show yet. But I would recommend you watch the show before watching this video. No, he's his brother. Yeah, it's his brother, actually. Never mind. Well, that's what they call him, anyway. He is a good villain. I really enjoyed Morgan Edge turning out to be pretending to be a human, but he was on Earth way before Clark even got here. I do really enjoy this arc, and they really explained his backstory well. So I genuinely enjoyed the season very thoroughly, and I enjoyed the final fight between Clark and Morgan Edge, or Talro, I think his Kryptonian name is. So for this season, I'm going to give it a solid 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. Season 2 was actually another incredible season. It was based around Ali Elston, which I felt like was a very unique villain that we don't ever really get to see in Superman, continuity. And her goal of trying to merge the Bizarro world and our Earth was incredible. I really enjoyed this, and I like seeing the alternate versions of the characters, and how on Bizarro world Superman and John were because instead of Jordan getting powers, it was John who got the powers, which makes sense because it's the reverse. So it made sense. I will be discussing a bit more about the Bizarro world in a minute, but overall I felt like they were engulfed in fame. I don't know if, or indulged in fame. I don't know if they knew about the family, who they actually were in real life, or whether it was just kind of they still had their secret identities. But anyway, most of the season was based around, that sort of thing, about Superman, meeting Ali Alston and her trying to corrupt people into merging with their other selves on the other world, making them like powerful gods or whatever. And obviously we don't know if that would actually kill the person, or whether that would just like mean there was two of the same person are sharing the same body or whatever. But anyway, the Bizarro world, I felt like it was a very nice aspect of how everything was reversed rather than it being like the same. Like, for example, on Krypton, on the Bizarro world, I think it must have been like a yellow sun, and so the red sun makes them more powerful on Earth. And then where in the normal world, Kryptonians, were sustained by the red sun on Krypton, and then on Earth it's the yellow sun that makes them more powerful. And I really like this aspect of things. So, yeah. For season 2, I'm going to give it a solid 9 out of 10 again. Season 3, what can I say? Another great season, but it wasn't as good to me as season 1 and 2 were. So, season 2 and season 1 were the best, in my opinion. Season 3, I did like it, and I did like the cancer arc and stuff, but the whole Bruno Mannheim thing I wasn't a big fan of in general. I still really enjoyed the show, and I think the main villain was Onomatopoeia, who was Bruno Mannheim's wife, who was dying. But I still wasn't a big fan of her, and that I wasn't really a fan of Onomatopoeia in general. I much preferred the previous two villains. Not a bad season, though. They still managed to pull everything in the right way, and the heartstrings with Lois's cancer and stuff. I really did enjoy it. It just wasn't like the best out of all of them. So I'm going to say season 3 was a solid 8 for me. Season 4. Boy, do I have a lot to say about season 4. I love season 4 as well. I love season 1, 2 and 4 the most. I did enjoy season 3 and it was still great, but I prefer season 4. Season 4 is mostly more about how he died at the end of season 3 by Doomsday, and Lex Luthor gets introduced into the picture. And Doomsday is actually the Bizarro version of Superman, and he was just killed over and over. I don't know how it works on the Bizarro world, because Superman here can't be just killed over and over and then come back even stronger, but apparently this version of Superman can. I don't know what exactly he did to himself in the Bizarro world in season 2, but yeah, he gets turned into Doomsday, and then you see this giant climactic fight in the end of episode 3. You only get to see like half of it or whatever, and then when season 4 came out, after about a year, you get to see the rest of the fight, and Superman actually dies. And I felt like season 4 at the beginning was great, but I genuinely felt like it was drawn on a bit. With the whole Doomsday thing, for quite a bit of the season, rather than actually talking more about Clark's death. I felt like quite a lot of the time they weren't really going over that too much after he was brought back to life. But yeah, Clark was brought back to life after General Lane sacrificed himself with his heart with the Kryptonian serum that made him compatible with Superman. So, most of the season is more about Doomsday and Lex Luthor together trying to take out Superman, until Lois manages to convince Doomsday in order to leave Clark alone and their family alone, because he was Clark at one point. So I do generally feel like that they did focus more of their attention on Doomsday, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I felt like we didn't get enough of Clark in those times leading up to episode 3, I think it was. Yeah, it was episode 3 where he was brought back to life and he finally was awake. Which I really enjoyed. Though I did enjoy the season. Sorry, my mind is getting a bit sidetracked right now. But anyway, I did really think that the whole bringing him back thing was a really good thing, and how it was like quite heartwarming with General Lane and stuff, and how everything, he did this for Clark and the family, and Superman came back. But I didn't really like how the fact that in episode 3 they kind of cut from him coming back, and then it being like 4 weeks later. Like that's what I mean. We never actually got to saw the impact of the death and how it affected the whole family, really. Like, I'm not saying like we didn't see parts of it, like where like Lois was upset and things like that, talking about he died and stuff, but I kind of felt like, because Jonathan got powers in episode 2, which was very weird to me as well. I didn't understand this side of it. I'm not saying I didn't find it was cool, but it was kind of just like I would rather have seen the reaction of Clark to Jonathan getting powers, rather than it just being like, oh well, Superman now knows that his son has powers. I would have thought that would have been a nice heartwarming moment, that both his sons have powers. I would have rather it have not gone that way, and I know some people are saying that as well. Like, Jordan got the powers, and I feel like if they were going to introduce John having powers, they should have done it a long time ago. I don't think they should have just left it for this long, because I don't see like the actual explanation as to why John didn't get his powers. Apparently people are saying, oh well, they've manifested over the years, right? But for me, I felt like, well, how would they have just manifested after his dad died? Like, I understand, but yeah, here's another nitpick. I know it sounds stupid, but after he got his powers, he kind of completely forgot about his dad's death. Like, he was super emotional at Jordan, blaming Jordan for the fact that he didn't get his dad's heart back. He thought he was never seeing him again, and he was so upset, and then he got powers, and then he was all smiley and happy. Like, that's just one little thing that I wasn't necessarily a huge fan on. But overall, like I said, it's still a great show, and I did really enjoy it. But the majority of the season was more focusing on the fact that most of the Smallville know who Clark is now, because of the way that Lois and family reacted to his death in the main area of Smallville, like the high street of Smallville. So most people saw it. But yeah, Superman and Lois episode 7 was a huge episode. I personally, as my own personal opinion, I don't know what you guys think, you have to tell me in the comments below, but I was not happy with the fact that they revealed Superman's identity to the world. I could understand if it was to Smallville, like when Candace's dad came back in this episode, but I was kind of annoyed that he told the whole world who he was. The idea of Superman isn't for him to tell the whole world who he is, and I was not happy with this, really. I was more of a 60-40 on it. 60 I wasn't happy with it, 40 I was okay with it. I would have rather, if they were going to do that, they were going to do it on the final episode rather than doing it on episode 7, because now all he's done really is, I know that either way it would have been a very difficult situation. Like, Superman had to hide this his whole life, and I kind of feel like as well, like, if he did tell the world as well, his life will still be hard. There's no normal life for anything. Either way, there's no normal life. But I kind of felt like he spent his whole life, right, hiding this secret, and now, just like that, he's willing to give it up. Like, this is what I was a bit skeptical about, and considering now everybody knows who Superman is, there's going to be people out there who are going to be like, well, he didn't save me, he didn't save that. There was an episode based around this in Smallville where everyone knew who Clark was, and I feel like there's going to be times where Superman can't be there for everybody, or somewhere in the world that he's not focusing on, or something like that. And then there's going to be people that are going to be mad at Clark, being like, well, you didn't save this, you didn't save my dad, or you didn't save my daughter, or whatever. Like, it's going to be a big thing. And also the boys are going to have a target on their back now, even though they both have powers. If anyone ever knows that Superman's family has powers, they are going to, try to get Clark and the boys into a crisis, and then Lois is going to be in danger, or someone could hurt Lois. And so I think it was a very stupid idea. I get the reason why he did it, because most people knew anyway in Smallville, but it doesn't mean that 8 billion people in the world, I don't even know if that's how many people are in the world, but the whole world didn't need to know it. And I kind of feel like they would have kept it a secret if only Smallville knew. This is my opinion, so I don't want you guys to go off at me in the comments and think, oh right, well, I'm talking shit about the show, because I'm not. I genuinely enjoy Superman and Lois, but I kind of feel like with shows that they reveal their identity, like Arrow, Supergirl, and Superman and Lois, I wasn't really a huge fan of. I still do enjoy the show, and I am curious to see how episode 8, 9 and 10 go. Another thing that I'm annoyed about is the fact the show's ending, to begin with. Both Titans, Doom Patrol and Superman and Lois were just kicked off air, because Titans was originally renewed for a season 5, apparently, in the halfway point of season 4. And then they only just got told halfway through season 4 of Titans that there wasn't going to be a season 5, and that they needed to wrap it up after the second half of season 4. So there was a huge wait for season 4 and a half, the second half, to come back out. I was really pissed off with this, because obviously it's because of James Gunn taking over the DCU and things like that. I wasn't happy at all. I've not been happy for a while with this decision. And not that I think James Gunn's a bad guy or anything, but it's the fact that he's taken these shows off air for his new universe, when for a while anyway we're never going to get a Superman TV show again, or a Titans TV show anyway. And an interview came out with Alex Garfin, who played Jordan, and he was talking about as well, and I agree with him, why can't there be two Supermen? They're not even, intertwined with each other. And then it's really like James Gunn that's taken the show off the air. And you can say as much as you want it's not James Gunn, but it is. And the reason for this is because he made the decision he didn't want two Supermans going at the same time, which I also don't understand either. And I am really annoyed about it. I really am annoyed about it. They were originally going to go for 7 seasons at least. Like, they would have kept going because the show wasn't awful. It was doing really well. And I am very angry about that. And I know that I'm really wasting my anger because this will be the final season anyway. But I agree with Alex Garfin. Like, he wanted to keep the show going. All the characters were willing to keep the show going. It wasn't ever bad. Like, the show never was awful. Like, they just doing this to mess with you. Like, I feel like with the whole James Gunn thing, it's not cool, because at the end of the day he's only focusing on movies right now, and so we're not going to get any sort of superhero content until June 2025, and that's what I feel is a problem, because now he's focusing on movies. We're not going to get any superhero shows for a very long time, for at least another 5-6 years, I would assume. And I feel like the way that they're ending this after season 4 as well is a bit annoying, because I wanted to see a lot more of the show, and the way that James Gunn has taken the show off air is insane, because I know that they had a contract for 7 seasons anyway, I'm pretty sure. And to be honest with you, Tyler Hoechlin is one of the best Superman that there are. For me, it goes Tom Welling, Tyler, and then Christopher Reeve. I was never a big fan of Henry Cavill. Not saying he's a bad Superman, but I just generally didn't get enough screen time with the guy, so I wasn't really a big fan, which is why I like TV shows more, because you get a lot more screen time with these characters than you do in movies. So I'm not saying that I'm not going to give James Gunn's DCU a chance. I am going to give his DCU a chance, and I will be going to watch Superman next year when it comes out, or probably on day of release. But I'm not going to like it as much as I'm going to like Superman and Lois or Smallville. And I know I'm not going to like it as much. And that's just generally because I'm not a big fan of movies as much as I am of TV shows. I've always been a Flash guy. I was never a fan of Ezra Miller anyway, not just because of his, practices outside of set, but I just wasn't a big fan of his Flash anyway because I barely had any screen time with him. You get to see him in the Justice League movie, and then you got to see him for 5 minutes in Suicide Squad, and then you get to see him again in the Flash movie. Altogether, that spans for about 3 hours at most. Like, when you've got the Flash TV show, that's got over 200 episodes, probably even 300. Like, I've spent so much more time with Grant Gustin's Flash than I ever did with Ezra Miller. So I was very disappointed with Ezra's performance in general. I wasn't a big fan of him, but I did watch the Flash movie even though he was awful, really. And just so you guys know, these are all my opinions. You don't have to agree with me, so I don't want you guys just to hate on me for it. But I am very annoyed with the fact that they're going to take this show off the air, even though it's a really good show, and we're not going to get anything for a long time superhero show wise. I know that Tyler Hoechlin and Elizabeth Tulloch and John Bishop, I think his name is, or Jacob Bishop, I don't remember his name. I know that there was Jordan Alisys or something like that, who was originally Jonathan Kent. He left the show for personal reasons, and that's fine. I feel like with the show ending, it's a bit disappointing. But hey, there's nothing we can do about it. But they were all willing to keep going. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. This is my general thoughts on Superman and Lois. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next video, and have a good day. Bye bye.